Her trembling hands clutched at the buttons of her silk blouse as tears threatened to spill. "Please, don't make me undress," Katherine whispered, the powerful CEO now reduced to pleading. Across from her, Marcus's face remained impassive, his eyes hardened by years of struggle. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, "but I have no choice." If you're enjoying this emotional journey between two broken souls finding unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories that explore the complex depths of human relationships. Katherine Chen never imagined she'd find herself in this position. As CEO of Meridian Technologies, she commanded boardrooms with unwavering confidence, her tailored suits and perfect composure a shield against a world that constantly questioned her right to power. But now, standing in the sterile hospital room with her designer clothes soaked through with rain and blood, that shield had crumbled. "The wound needs to be cleaned properly," Marcus Reynolds explained, his voice clinical but not unkind. The emergency room doctor, a man she'd dismissed as cold and detached when they'd first met, held out a hospital gown. "The cut is deep, Miss Chen. I can't treat it properly through your clothing." Katherine's fingers pressed against her side where the jagged metal from the car accident had sliced through fabric and skin. The pain was excruciating, but it paled compared to the vulnerability she felt. She hadn't been seen, truly seen, in years. Her body, with its imperfections and scars from a childhood she'd spent decades trying to forget, was her most closely guarded secret. "There must be another way," she insisted, her normally commanding voice reduced to something small and frightened. Marcus sighed, running a hand through his dark hair, prematurely streaked with gray. At 38, he looked older, worn down by life's cruelties. "I've sent the nurse away as you requested. No one else will see. But I need to treat that wound before infection sets in." What Katherine couldn't know was that Marcus understood her fear better than most. As a single father raising an 8-year-old daughter after his wife's death, he'd become an expert in recognizing the things people tried to hide, especially their pain. 3 hours earlier, Katherine had been speeding down the rain-slicked coastal highway, desperate to reach the airport. The board meeting in Singapore couldn't proceed without her, and the acquisition that would cement her legacy was hanging by a thread. Her assistant's voice had crackled through the car's speakers, listing the consequences of delay, when Katherine swerved to avoid a child chasing a ball into the road. The guardrail had torn through the driver's side door like paper. By some miracle, she'd managed to drive to the nearest hospital, a small community facility far from the private medical care she typically used. The kind of place where people might recognize her face from business magazines and where confidentiality might be an afterthought. "I can't miss my flight," Katherine said through gritted teeth, even as blood seeped through her fingers. Marcus's expression didn't change. "You're not going anywhere tonight except possibly into surgery if that wound is as deep as I suspect. You don't understand what's at stake." "I understand that you're risking your life for a meeting." Katherine laughed bitterly. "That meeting is the culmination of 15 years of work. 15 years of fighting to be taken seriously, of sacrificing everything." Something flickered in Marcus's eyes, recognition, perhaps. "5 minutes," he said. "Give me 5 minutes to assess the damage. If it's something I can patch quickly, I'll do my best to get you out of here." It was a lie, and they both knew it. But it was enough to get Katherine to reluctantly begin unbuttoning her blouse with shaking hands. "Turn around," she commanded, a final attempt to maintain control. "I can't treat what I can't see," Marcus replied gently. That's when she'd pleaded with him, her carefully constructed facade crumbling completely. Marcus had seen countless bodies in his years as a doctor, broken, wounded, vulnerable. But something about Katherine's fear touched a place in him he thought had died with his wife. Slowly, he reached for a privacy screen. "I'll step behind this while you change into the gown," he offered. "Only expose the injured area. I promise to be professional and quick." Katherine stared at him, searching his face for any sign of judgment or, worse, pity. She found neither, only patience and a deep weariness that matched her own. "Why are you being kind to me?" she asked suspiciously. "I've been nothing but difficult since I arrived." Marcus's smile was slight but genuine. "Because everyone deserves kindness, especially when they're scared. And contrary to what you might think, Ms. Chen, CEOs are allowed to be human too." As Marcus treated the 6-inch laceration along Katherine's ribs, his hands gentle but confident, an unexpected connection formed between them. Katherine learned that Marcus had once been a surgeon at a prestigious hospital in Boston before his wife's illness had brought him to this small coastal town. He'd given up a brilliant career to give his daughter stability after her mother's death. "You could have sent me to another doctor," Katherine said as he finished the last stitch. "Someone with more patience for difficult patients." Marcus secured the bandage carefully. "I recognized you the moment you walked in. My daughter did a school project on female CEOs last year. You were her favorite." Katherine felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the pain medication. "Really? Really?" She said. "You looked like someone who never gave up, no matter what." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. I think she was right. The storm outside intensified, making Katherine's already impossible travel plans completely moot. Stranded in the small coastal hospital overnight, she found herself sharing coffee with Marcus in the quiet doctor's lounge as he finished his shift. "Call your board," he suggested. "Explain the situation." Katherine's laugh was hollow. "You don't understand corporate politics. Any sign of weakness. Is being human a weakness?" Marcus challenged. "You nearly died today. That metal missed your liver by centimeters. In my world? Yes, being human is often seen as a weakness." She stared into her coffee. "Especially for women." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "My wife was like you," he finally said. "Brilliant, driven. She was developing a new drug therapy when she was diagnosed. Refused to stop working even during chemo." Katherine felt a tightness in her throat. "What happened?" "She died anyway," he said simply. And in her final days, she didn't talk about the research or the accolades. She talked about wishing she'd seen more sunsets. Held our daughter longer instead of rushing to the lab. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. By morning, Katherine had made her decision. She called Singapore not to apologize but to delegate, truly delegate, for the first time in her career. She trusted her team more than she'd been willing to admit, even to herself. As she prepared to leave, Marcus handed her a prescription and strict aftercare instructions. "Thank you," she said, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "Not just for this." She gestured to her bandaged side. "But for seeing me. The real me." Marcus's smile reached his eyes this time. "That's the thing about being a doctor in a small town. You learn to see people, not positions or power." Katherine hesitated, then reached for her business card. She wrote her personal number on the back. "If your daughter ever wants to talk to a CEO who sometimes falls apart in emergency rooms, tell her to call me." 6 months later, Katherine returned to the coastal town. Not because of an accident or emergency, but by choice. She'd restructured her company to allow for actual work-life balance, not just for herself but for all employees. The board had been skeptical until productivity and retention rates improved dramatically. She found Marcus and his daughter, Lily, at the community beach cleanup she'd secretly funded. Lily's eyes widened with recognition, and Katherine felt none of the self-consciousness she'd expected. "You came back," Marcus said, surprise evident in his voice. Katherine smiled, feeling the scar on her side, a reminder of vulnerability that had become a source of strength. "I had a very wise doctor once tell me that everyone deserves kindness. I thought perhaps it was time I extended some to myself." As they walked along the shore, Katherine realized that sometimes the most powerful choice a person can make is to allow themselves to be seen, truly seen, by another. Her journey from that rainy night had taught her that strength wasn't found in isolation or perfection, but in the courage to connect, to be vulnerable, and to accept help when needed. And as the sun set over the ocean, Katherine Chen, still a CEO, still driven and brilliant, watched the colors paint the sky alongside a formerly cold single dad who'd had no choice but to make her undress, and his daughter who believed in women who never gave up. For the first time in 15 years, she was exactly where she needed to be. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that explores the unexpected connections that change our lives. Remember that sometimes our greatest strengths are revealed in our moments of vulnerability, and that true power comes not from never falling, but from how we rise after we fall.